What's going on, team? Proof here, and today is what would have been the stats video for 7 Seas. However, it was brought to my attention that I was incorrectly using the intercept ability from 7 Seas Night Mist. What I was doing is that if it was anything in the back row, as long as I had a treasure token, I was intercepting with it. However, Night Mist, while he allows things to intercept from the back row, he doesn't grant intercept to your 7 Seas rear guards. So it needs to be something that's can already intercept, such as a grade 2, or something that can gain intercept such as Raise Tutor. So because of that, I don't know how many replays I incorrectly used the intercept ability of Night Mist. I believe it was in one of the games yesterday that I featured, so I apologize for that. But due to that, I don't feel it's beneficial and positive to showcase my stats and stuff, because it won't be an accurate representation of what my games could have been over the 20 game sample size. So instead of that, what I was gonna do, or what I am going to do, I'm just gonna talk about my overall experience with the deck, and then I'm gonna go through the cards and kind of give my thoughts and opinions on them from my experience playtesting with it. If you find that beneficial, I hope you stick around, and then let's go ahead and hop into it. My overall experience with the deck was overall positive. I thought it was really fun to get down and play with it. I enjoy the general style of what 7 Seas are trying to do, which is get through your deck and try to build up and try be consistent and get a nice board setup with good power with Slash Shade or Voyage, and having a lot of means of being able to churn through your deck and get those on the board, or having other means of having a solid board setup if you can't find these. I thought that was really cool. I enjoy, and I've enjoyed graveyard drop zone type of mechanics in other card games. So Granblue has always been the clan that has appealed to me over time, but this is not one I really put a lot of energy and focus into until this series. Well, that's not true. I played it a lot back in OG when I was really getting into the game and trying out everything, but over time I just kind of centralized on like spikes, for example. So I never really put a lot of focus into playing other clans such as Granblue. And out of all the games that I played, it felt like they were ones that are good matchups for Granblue. I feel like I never ran into like one of those terrible overall awful matchups, and I never played against something like Narukami, which can bind my units so they don't go back to their drop zone, so I can't call them back out. And I didn't play into Link Joker such that they can bind, or they can lock my board, so I'm limited on what I can do. And run into something like Chaos, I feel like would be a terrible experience, because you want to have the ability to use all of your rearguard circles for your different setups. So playing against Lock feels like it would not be a good experience for this particular version of Granblue. Fortunately, I didn't run into those, but I feel like it would have been interesting to run into them just for the play experience and seeing how I could have navigated through it. So it felt like all the decks I played against felt like it could be one that I could reliably win, but it also requires me to be able to play correctly, and I don't feel like I always did that, because the early games I was trying to learn the deck, and I feel like I wasn't maximizing the potential of the 7 Seas cards. I feel like this is a deck that really rewards you for understanding how to properly put pieces in places to be max beneficial. Like, there were some times where I would leave stranded something in the back row that can't attack because my opponent hit a defensive trigger, or they didn't have something I could attack into, where if I planned better for that situation happening, maybe I could have put grade 1s into the back row instead of grade 2s that could become, so the grade 1s could be boosters if necessary, or they can also be flexible attackers if need be. I feel like I never really truly maximized the nature of the deck, and if you're somebody who's interested in it and wants to put that time into it, I think you'll be rewarded with the overall play experience. So it's not one of those decks I feel like it kind of holds your hand through the process, or you can win despite making like some inefficient plays here and there, some decks that can do that for you. This deck feels like you need to play your pieces well and really maximize what the deck is trying to do, and I like that. I like those kind of decks as well. But over a 20 game sample, I feel like there's more that I could squeeze out of the deck, get a little more juice out of the deck, if you will, and that to me, that's cool. And this also means if I want to come back to it, I know that I have a better jumping off point than coming in fresh like I did for this play experience for this series here. So that, I thought that was really cool. So that's kind of like my overall, thoughts and opinions on it. So now let's just go card by card and like just kind of talk about them for a little bit. We'll start with the grade 3s. 7 Seas Night Mist he's kind of like just a sit there and do his job type of thing. It's not like he doesn't carry the deck. Well, he carries the deck because it's your primary payoff piece. So ideally you want to ride him and then sit on him and just let the deck turn around him. If you're able to get the 1 and the 3, that's great. And then if you're able to get the 6, you probably are going to win that game, because if you have the time and the ability to get the 6, then you probably also have the ability to get big horror. You want to call it horror, get big voyages or slash shade onto the board, and then you can abuse the restand ability of Night Mist from the 6 tokens. Using your pieces better for attacking an intercept, at least for the intercept ability, can at least give you that time necessary. So making better use of Raise Tutor in the back row with the treasure token, that way it can intercept and you can revive it, put it back on the circle again, and then do it that way to give yourself that leeway and that ability to get to the later turns and really beat your opponent down in the process. So all in all, solid card is what the deck needs to function properly, but it just also just kind of sits there, so it doesn't do much beyond that, which I think is fine because it gives you 3 abilities in 1 anyway. And then the Gucci Voyage is an incredible payoff card for what the deck is trying to do. It's a big improvement, a big addition, I should say, from V-Clan collection, and I feel it's what it's going to give it like the biggest push to becoming meta relevant, if the deck does become meta relevant, because of what the payoff is. Undead Sea Dragon is already a very scary card in the nature of being functional with Night Rose. So now you have a 7 Seas version of it that you can spam with multiple attacks over time, and it doesn't retire itself such like Sea Dragon does or Undead Dragon does. So it just sticks around and it can keep doing this thing over and over again if you don't deal with it. I didn't use the remove treasure marker ability pretty much at all after the first game that I did, and people who have given me advice since the video said like don't be afraid to use it, because it allows you just to help fill up your board. It's like one of the few ways to superior call that's just raw +2 cards, as opposed to like being cycles or cantrips for that matter. So they advise like don't be afraid to use that ability if you know you can very easily get the treasure token back. So all in all, like whatever system you use for rating cards, put this at the very tippy top of the list in terms of making the deck relevant. Slash Shade is a card from the past, but it's also very good. It's an incredible early game beater, becoming very easily a 24k body that your opponent has to deal with turn over turn, and one you can bring back very easily because of just the revived nature of what the deck is doing. And incredible beater, it just does what it does solidly, and then it's very easy for it to hit and help it generate your treasure tokens for the future. Not really much more than that needs to be said about it. It's just an incredibly solid card. Night Spinel, the consistency that she provides is very good, like, and it's one of your counterblast sinks if you choose not to add additional tech pieces to the deck. So very easy to know, like, I got a counterblast, I can use Night Spinel, and that feels good because you don't need to worry about trying to save it for a whole lot of different pieces here and there. So it's like very straightforward in that regard. And just being able to pull out anything from your drop zone for a superior call is really good, just to help make your drop zone a true second hand because of what it's able to accomplish. So incredibly solid, 10 out of 10 in terms of what it's able to do. And yeah, like very, just not much more needs to be said about it. And then Night Haze is the other card, the other 7 Seas related card that came out of the most recent clan collection. And this card is incredible because it's able to help you dig for your Night Mist. So it could be your turn 2 ride very easily, but it does cost a counterblast. However, it mills 4 cards for you and helps you fill up your drop zone for Night Spinel, Voyage, Slash, all things of that nature. So it really like puts another engine into your deck that you want to have going forward. And then if you have 2 damage and you play Night Haze and you miss off of what you want to grab, but you have a Night Haze, bring the Night Haze back, play it, get five more digs at what you're trying to find. And that actually came up in testing for me personally. I think it was in the video, I can't remember, but going haze into haze and then finding a night mist, guaranteeing my grade 3 ride that I want to have, is really good. And Raise Tutor is a card that I really undervalued in my testing because of how I interpreted the night mist ability. I didn't value it as much because I thought, like, once I get my 1 treasure token out, everything can be an intercept from the back row. So Raise Tutor isn't that good beyond having a 7 Seas name. So because of that, I didn't use it to its maximum capacity. But knowing what I know now, like having that become like a flexible interceptor, and then also be an attacker as well. And then if you have Protect 2 marker, it allows you just to have like a constant 13k booster / 20k shield bearer, because you can intercept with it for 20k shield, or you have multiple on the board that can intercept for 20k shield, and then you can always revive them back fairly easily with your other 7 Seas pieces if you need that that defensive capability. And because of my misunderstanding, I didn't really go Protect 2 a whole lot, because I always felt that it was safer to go Protect 1, especially in the matchups against Force. But since Raise Tutor only looks for markers, it could be a treasure token or it could be a Protect 2 marker, so it allows you to have that flexibility of what is going to be on the circle feature in Raise Tutor. So not something that I really got max value out of over time. Definitely something to keep in mind for those who want to be playing the deck. And then Nightcrow, another card that I didn't really use to its max capacity like I talked about earlier, but being able to use the Soul Blast ability of it and then turn your used up Night Hazes or Night Spinos into a 13k, potential 13k booster attacker flexible piece is something that I really should have used more in my testing. I apologize to the 7 Seas grade 1s for thinking that they were only good for their name. Instead of using them for being much more than that. And then Negerbone here was a solid round out piece. There are other texts you can use in this spot or in other spots for that matter if you don't want to play a full 7 Seas +1 type of deck. But Negerbone here was good for being able just to turn into a Slash Shade or a Horror or a Voyage or like a Night Runner that can then dig me a couple more cards. So all in all, like, I thought this was good for my testing, just to help me get a feel for what a tech option could provide in a deck like this. And then Night Runner, I really enjoyed it as a card because early on it could just become a 5k booster, which allows for my Vanguard to hit when it otherwise couldn't, like in the going against the Force matchup. Like being 14k versus being 9k does force your opponent to need to commit a card out of hand to guarantee you not to hit versus them just chancing the 1 pass. And I think that's good to have. And then beyond that, it just becomes a buying piece to then mill out your deck a little bit more, find a piece you need. It builds up Voyage to be a big body threat. And I don't think this is like the grade ones. I don't think this is a card where I undervalued its existence. I think I properly valued what it's trying to do, and being that piece just to get you further into your deck for the piece that you really want to have. And it's not really one that's meant to stick around for the long term, as long as you can reliably replace it with something else. That's my take on all of the main cards of the deck. In terms of the triggers, I was happy playing 8 crit overall, but I feel like the trigger lineup can be flexible if you want to play more draws versus playing more crits. I think I heard somewhere that there was a 7 Seas list that played 8 draw, just with the idea just to take the damage and get through your deck as fast as possible to get big Voyages onto the board. That's another method, another avenue that you can go down if you so choose. But I was perfectly satisfied playing 8 crit for the purposes of understanding what the deck was trying to do. But yeah, keep it flexible however you want to. So I think now about wrap it up for this particular video. For those who are looking forward to a stats video, I once again apologize, but I just didn't think it was good to put out stats which might not be accurate because of my misinterpretation of Night Mist's ability. And for the next deck that I want to showcase, I hope I don't have to do this again in terms of not having the stats available. So I'll do a better job of making sure I understand the ruling implications of the cards in said deck. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you got something out of this video. and I hope you enjoy it, and I'll catch you next time. Peace. Be easy.